As Nigeria's digital economy continues to expand, so does the influence of financial technology, fintech. A recent report by Entrepreneur GR projects that the country's buy now, pay later BNPL market will grow by over 83% within 6 years, rising from $1.42 billion in 2024 to an estimated $2.61 billion by 2030. This rapid growth is a reflection of fintech's increasing role in reshaping consumer behavior, deepening financial inclusion, and providing alternative credit solutions. But what does this mean for Nigeria's evolving financial landscape? However, and how are business and consumers adapting to this shift? To help us unpack these issues, we're joined by Aliyu Shata, an e-commerce and financial expert. He is the Regional Advisor, Africa Quorum Group, and the Vice Chairman, Association of Licensed Mobile Payments Operators of Nigeria. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Shata.
Thank you for having me.
So let's dive right in. What do you think is driving the rapid growth of the buy now, pay later BNPL market in Nigeria?
There's a lot of factors that are actually driving it. And some of the key indicators are, first, the regulations that we've had from CBN in 2012 started the entire revolution. And that was the financial inclusion framework, that was passed in 2012 by the Central Bank of Nigeria that bettered the financial technology landscape in Nigeria. And ever since then, we've had significant growth in terms of layering different infrastructure, most especially NCC also contributing, because the penetration of GSM and internet enables us to, power the platform that started the digital economy in Nigeria today. And with that, all the major players who have come into the ecosystem to acquire licenses have also helped in reshaping and shaping and modifying the innovative space that we have. So there's a lot of factors that have actually happened. And when I talked about digital economy, there's a whole lot that is layered on it, right? What we call DPI, digital public infrastructure. Now, which is the combination of what I've mentioned in terms of, what NCC has brought in, what CBN has brought in terms of framework, what NDIC also has brought in terms of regulations to ensure that all the space are well regulated. And if you can see from the name, buy now, pay later, it's more or less like modernizing what you will call microfinancing, right? Or credit lending, as the case may be. But it's the concept of pay small, small, which means you can buy now and pay later and stagger it, right? So there's a whole lot that is happening. And marketplace, right? Digital marketplace platform are benefiting from this. E-commerce platform are benefiting from this. Retail stores who have now digitized, their platform as well are benefiting from it, which means with the concept of buy now, pay later, there's going to be a lot of footfall in a lot of stores because people know now that they can go and get items. They'll buy now and pay later. But guess what? There's somebody that is paying for you now for those items while you are paying later. So that's exactly the entire chain that happens. And because of the introduction of BVN, the introduction of NIN, we've been able to identify who those customers are. And credibility has also come in. Gone are the days when you want to get access to finance, you need to fill in, a lot of documents. It takes you like months to have access to little finance. But with financial technology, there are smart, innovative way of doing it. And AI has emboldened us. AI has also tried as much as possible to put every business on a large scale. So what happened back end is that before I can categorize you as somebody who's credit worthy, there's what we call the credit bureau. So they try and do a credit scoring on you. And there are a lot of parameters that they use to do that, right? They want to know first, how often do you recharge your phone? Are you the type that allow your credit to finish before you recharge, even though you recharge anyways? But they know that, yes, you will do recharge your phone. So yes, you are credit worthy. It's just that you are not disciplined enough, right? To know that the expiration time for your credit is about to expire. So it is time for you to recharge, right? And the same thing goes for, the pay TV, DSTV, start times, address. So they want to know how often do you do all of these things? How often do you buy data? How often do you, recharge your data as well? So there are a lot of credit. So have you even collected credit before? Have you defaulted before? Now, what size of or what pocket of credit are you requesting for? So they can categorize it to say, okay, even though you are requesting for 1 million, you are not eligible to get 1 million naira. But from your credit history, you are eligible to get maybe 500 naira. So they'll tell you they can take that risk and give you 500 naira because they also look at
Oh,
your income. They look at how much you get on a monthly basis. So there's a lot
you
of things
talked,
that go on. Yeah.
Aliyu Shata, you are just talking to me about the risk. Would you also tell me the opportunities that consumers and merchants should be aware of in using these services?
Oh, yes, of course, these are a lot of opportunities. I mentioned the opportunities in the beginning, and the opportunities are one, there are a lot of footfalls that will come into your stores because if anybody who is involved in buy now, pay later, it means there will be exponential growth in what we call your gross merchandise value, right? And your gross merchandise value will increase exponentially, which means a lot of people now know that they can come and take this item off your shelf whether it is digital or physical, but there is that guarantee that you can have a lot of customers, coming into your space to buy items. And that will transcend also to the Nigerian economy because first, if it is a commodity that is produced internally, that means that there's going to be an influence of that kind of goods coming into the market more. So there is employment generation that is going to come in, right? There is security that is guaranteed, social security, because today you have social insecurity, right? So a lot of people will also have access to jobs, right? Whether direct or indirectly, right? So these are all of the gains that comes in. And of course, there's going to be a whole lot of different value chain players coming to operate in that particular. So I'll give you an example. Let's assume today that we are assembling a solar panel in Nigeria, and there's a guarantee to say you can buy now and pay later, right? And in the market, there is a whole lot of influx. Maybe initially month on month, you are just selling probably for maybe you grew by 5% or 3%. But because of buy now and pay later, you are now growing by 15%, 25%. So which means you're going to have access to more of this product, right? You're going to have access to the value chain around the product to also sell. So every manufacturer, every OEM that is participating in this value chain will increase, their merchandise to ensure that they're able to service, that demand that is coming, the pull demand that is coming into the market. So you're able to service the demand and the supply side, of things. So it will exponentially, transform the Nigerian economy. Trust me.
Mr.
And the purchasing
Shata,
power will also increase.
okay, Mr. Shata, you talked about risks on the part of the service providers. Can we now talk about on the part of consumers?
Yeah, so the risk is data protection and data privacy, which is exactly what I talked about. So it will be bad enough that somebody have access to your BVN or your NIN and they use it to go and purchase, to go and access buy now, pay later. If they do that, that has exposed your database, right? And risk you as well, because the operators will definitely come after you. Meanwhile, you have been a victim of either fraud, internet fraud, or cyber insecurity, right? Or even physical hijack, because some people do that under duress. You know, all of these guys who snatch phones or kidnappers, they can actually tell you to, put in your BVN. You give them your BVN, so they compromise all of your details, your personal details, right? So these are risks on the consumer, part. Another risk on the consumer part is there is a need for you to understand the terms and conditions. When you hear about buy now pay later, a lot of people will just jump into going to access credit, but you don't also understand the terms and conditions that is involved. So a lot of people just rush to click approve or agree. And when you agree, you are now under the better call of these guys. So they will be the one telling you that you have defaulted. You need to understand what is the interest rate you're also paying. It's very important. So you just don't see 5%. 5% of what? Is it
Not
annual?
too
Is it
bad.
monthly? Is it quarterly? So it's very important that you also understand,
Understand.
the operationalization of these accessing buy now, pay later, so that you don't fall victim to saying that you are not aware of certain information while you access these credits.
Okay, let's now talk about fintech, Shata. Let's talk about fintech and financial inclusion. In what ways would you say fintech is helping to deepen financial inclusion in our country?
There's a whole lot. Like I said, the journey started in 2012, right? And it started with mobile money operations license. And from there, that bettered a lot of licenses that we have. Now we have the PSS license, TSP license, PSSP license, IMTO license, agency banking license. I can go on. There's PSB license as well. There's also processing and switch license, which is what a lot of operators are using today. So there's been an exponential growth in terms of financial inclusion. Today, you remember what happened when there was change of Naira. There was exponential growth of digital adoption. A lot of people started opening wallets. I don't want to call the name of the platform so you don't say we're advertising, on NTA. There are a lot of organizations that moved from, 50% to almost 100% growth rate in terms of customer acquisition and customer adoption rate. Right? Today, I can give you a typical example. There are fintech platforms today that process about 150 billion naira daily. I tell you that for free, right? And there are fintech platforms today that process 1 trillion naira every month. That
Obviously,
is
they've
the impact
penetrated.
of, yeah, that is the impact of financial technology. A lot of rural areas today in Nigeria have agents. We have almost 1.2 mobile money agents scattered around the entire 774 local government in Nigeria today. This has also ensured that employment generation has started, because that's about engaging about 1.2 million people, you
True.
know, who now have access to jobs. They are all self-employed. A lot of graduates have taken these products and they have really worked with it. Some of them are agents, some of them are aggregators, and a lot of rural community are now connected. They have access to finance. But financial inclusion is not just creating access to the underserved. Financial inclusion is about making sure someone who is financially included's life has been taken from point A to point Z. How? By including what we call embedded finance. So now you have micro credit, which is exactly what you're talking about now. Buy now, pay later. You have micro insurance, right? You have micro pension. You have micro savings. So there's a whole lot that has come in. There's conditional cash transfer, for instance. The federal government is doing it through the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. It started with the National Cash Transfer Office under the then Office of the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osibanjo, before he metamorphosized into the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. And a lot of non-governmental organizations, NGOs, are actually involved in these conditional cash and non-conditional cash transfer. Some to vulnerable communities who are hit with crisis, and they also supply grains. I have personally been involved in some of this intervention in the Northeast, in North Central, where we have crisis areas. And I can tell you that there's been an exponential growth in terms of financial inclusion activities in Nigeria
That's
today.
lovely. That's lovely, Mr. Shatia. Let's quickly talk about growth of buy now, pay later and other fintech models. What role should regulators play to protect consumers without stifling innovation?
Yeah, so regulators need to ensure first that whoever is participating in the space is well licensed, and not just licensed, but they are following the framework agreement that is captured in the regulatory guidelines. We do have regulatory. In fact, as at yesterday, we had an engagement. So we need to commend the Central Bank of Nigeria. There's constant engagement, right? That we are having. Yesterday, we have our meeting, our quarterly meeting for financial inclusion strategic working group, right? So we have a financial inclusion working group that warehouses different regulators, NDIC, NCC, Nikon, and all the value chain players, name it, Association of Mobile Money Payments Operators, You have even the banks represented, the Association of Insurance Operators are represented, the Association of Pension Group are represented. So there's a whole lot that is taking place within the regulatory. And why are we having this kind of relationship? Is that the regulators don't want to stifle innovation. They want to understand our pains. They want to understand how we need to really deepen this place and ensure that everybody is benefiting. There's a mutual beneficial relationship that is happening. And that's the reason why we are having these stakeholders engagement, that is happening at this very high level that trickles down eventually. There's a whole lot of innovation that is being thrown into the system. Some have done what we call regulatory sandbox. CBN has done that, which means you can come and test your ideas and see
That's
if we can scale this regulatory sandbox, to a higher level. And this is one
That's
of the
all awesome,
platforms that the
Mr.
regulators
Shata. I'm afraid
are
we are
using.
running out of time. Thank you very much for your inputs at this time, Aliyu Shata.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a
You
pleasure,
have a
always a
lovely day.
pleasure. You too. Thank you.
Moving to oil.